Hello and greetings from Iceland. I just came back from a volcano tour yesterday with plenty of footage to process. The original plan was to go the evening when it started, but it took me a while to make my first video about this, and it was not wise to drive over 400 kilometers after that long day. So I took off Friday morning with something healthy by my side in the car to keep my energy levels up, and came to Grindavik around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I went straight to work, although it didn't look well for drone flying. And my first takeoff was in the north part of the town. And lucky me, my drone has this quality that it can fly in almost any weather. But if it gets too windy, it just doesn't come back. And that was the case this time. Due to a common mistake, I was doing one of my long panning shots and didn't notice while the drone was drifting away. So I got all possible and impossible warnings coming up on the remote. But by that time, a friend of mine was already on the way and picked it up for me. But since I got the chance to film in the town during the eruption, I decided to use the chance because all footage from this will be a part of a documentary someday. And I did also put a little sports cam on the hood of my car and drove through town, since it was almost completely abandoned during this special day. And I do actually have such drive-around footage from November 9th, the day before the town got evacuated for the first time, before the disaster. That changed everything. And I was driving some of the same roads now to blend in with the older footage. And such before and after shots, they have a lot of value already. And one of the videos that came from this tour is my drive around on the lava barriers. They can look very impressive from a car. And this is a location where we expected the lava to come down. And even the drone isn't doing this place justice. As for the size of this very unique lava barrier. And after some driving around on them, we followed the fissure to the northeast and did another drone tour close to the erupting fissure. But still, it was so windy that the gimbal motors on my drone were overloading this time. So I will have to remove some of those jitters before I publish this in full length. But the drone survived, and again I had problems getting it back. But I made this flight short, so I had plenty of battery to make it struggle and fight the worst gusts of wind. And my next filming location was from the Reykjanes highway. And what made this eruption so special is how far south the fissure opened up, or closer to the Reykjanes highway, the airport highway, than ever. And it ripped up 7 kilometers of land like a zipper, and it was very frustrating to not even be able to use a tripod, and it was not possible to use a window holder for the camera, and my handheld shots, they do only so much. But I did, however, have one new equipment in my toolbox that captured photos that freeze the flying lava from 6-7 kilometers away, like this. Or pictures with good details despite the distance. And I will talk about this camera soon in my video about the channel that I've been trying to finish for some time now. Because I have some plans that I want to share with you, or what you can expect from a channel into the future. But as for this eruption and how we perceive it here in Iceland, we did get lucky, that is for sure. But we do also see new challenges. Like the lava is getting closer to a village called Vogar, and just a few months ago we didn't think that the village Vogar would need any special protection into the future. But this eruption, it might change it, and this will change my script that I've already made about this village for a video in my town series, because this eruption changes a bit how we categorize the village towards volcano risk. But the fissure won't extend any further. It is already forming 2 craters where the remaining activity will go on. And if we know something for sure, it is that there is no way to predict how this will develop exactly. Like the longest lasting eruption from this series of 9 occurred actually in the background, and we can see the crater there from 2022 and notice that the activity now is getting very close to the place where all this started, the first eruptions. And we are now moving into a chapter that we have seen before. The last crater from eruption number 7 lived on for a few weeks after the main eruption came to an end. But the crater from eruption number 8, it lived on for only a week. But due to how powerful this eruption is there, it would not surprise me if we might get some tourist eruption for a while. And if you look at the extreme end of this, there are over 20 sealed volcano formations on the peninsula. They can get extremely large and come from long-lasting eruptions. So geologists would hardly be surprised if we would get an eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula that would go on for months or years. That would be by the book. But we have this magma chamber there at a little depth where magma accumulates and fills it up every 2-3 months. And that has prevented those events from being a continuous lava flow, like those eruptions that form those sealed volcanoes. So in a way, it can be said that those 9 eruptions are in fact just one eruption that got distracted by this magma chamber at 4-5 kilometers depth. And a new sealed volcano formation on the peninsula could simply make it uninhabitable and change the way how we live here in Iceland forever. Just to remind you of the fact that this is just a part of a larger event. And this part of it that we are watching now, it could be over in a week. The pressure from the deeper magma chamber that controls this journey might not be enough to power up eruption number 10. And I was actually listening to one of our experts the other day when he was comparing this to the volcanic tectonic chapter that occurred by Krafla volcano between 1975 and 1984, when 9 eruptions occurred. And to my surprise, that event was in fact never declared as over, because the land uplift kept on after the last eruption, but not with enough power to erupt. And he might have been making this point now because we have already seen that the magma inflow isn't as consistent as it used to be. So some of the older experts have been saying that this could be the first sign of this coming to an end at this location, meaning that if land uplift will be detected after a week from now, it doesn't have to mean that this ends up with an eruption, or if the inflow is in fact decreasing. But I'm not the expert. Those are just little information nuggets that I'm picking up as usual. And this event is also about so much more than just this one particular volcanic system on the peninsula. There are just so many of them. And I have been filming all those systems since 2022, mainly due to the fact that the city is not well located. In fact, so poorly located that we rarely talk about it. But we should do it. And this video that I started to make in 2022 about the systems, it just keeps on getting longer because I'm always finding something new in the landscape or information that are somewhat hidden or at least not well presented. But let's get back to the future of this eruption and how things look now. Like you see, we have a problem with burning moss now. The moss there is thick and the fire has the tendency to come up again and again. And we had this problem during eruption number 3. And after many attempts to hold the fire back, they used excavators to dig channels into the soil to stop it from spreading. And I somehow have the feeling that it would be a good idea to do it right away, because it doesn't look to me that this fire is just stopping by itself, and not even a rainy day might fix this for us. And I'm saying this because it takes the moss decades to grow back, because this is very sensitive area as for vegetation. And some of the forestry projects from the local municipalities might be at risk. They are very ambitious when it comes to planting trees. And there is a very special situation that might come up now since the US military used a nearby lava field to practice during their stay in Iceland from 1942 to 1992. And there is this lava field near the place where the fire is now. The Icelandic Coast Guard has been doing trips there every now and then, still finding bombs. But if the eruption continues, lava will flow over that area in a week or so and most likely blow up the rest of the ammunition there and make the area safe again with a fresh layer of lava. And that sounds great, of course, but I don't think it's a good idea to be hiking around there when the lava comes. Sadly, because this could be the perfect tourist volcano. And as for access, the authorities have tackled this eruption differently than they tackled the previous eruptions around Grindavík. They are more at ease with this, and it has to do with the abandoned town Grindavík, where they don't want tourists to be wandering around. And last Friday, we could see it miles away that the eruption could cause problems on the Reykjanes highway that connects the airport to Reykjavík, Iceland's busiest highway, and it was quite a show just driving by. And this is how it looked for those coming from the international airport. So the 3 or 4 police cars there, they were using lights and sirens for hours because the cars kept on stopping, tourist buses, taxis, the whole package. And again, we witnessed how popular this is. Many of those people have never seen a live volcano before. And I'm glad that they were given the opportunity to stop by, because a part of the road to Grindavík, 1 or 2 kilometers, was opened. It's the part that you see here, and when I entered it Friday night, it looked like this, and this is where people could park their cars and just watch this. And in fact, it was just one big party there around midnight. Many of those cars were there all night, people like me, using this as a relaxing fireplace. Others were trying to do some hiking, but it was not a clever move. And most of them came back soon because those conditions needed proper lights and clothing. I noticed one couple doing the same mistake as me, and they had to do some hiking in the dark, but found a drone. So I waited until after midnight to do a takeoff from there. But as I knew already, I'm not doing any miracles with just a regular drone in low light conditions. I'm not getting the details, and it's too much low light noise that I actually fixed for the most part in this video. But from this distance, I think it's 6 or 7 kilometers, my other camera did way more for me than a drone. But I do of course have a proper lens, but to film this even from inside the car was a big problem because the car was shaking a lot, and I forgot to take with me like 1 ton of fast-setting concrete mix to make my tripod stable. That is the only thing that might have worked. So this was the first low-light test with a new camera, where I was checking how sharp I can make the volcano be 6-7 kilometers away. And this is unprocessed footage, just a little image stabilization, but gives you an idea about where I'm taking this. And I'm hoping to find time to process the rest of the files from this trip in the next 2-3 days. It will help me a lot to get used to the new camera. And if this eruption will continue for some time, I will go back south, do some hiking or biking to the volcano, to the crater, if it's not too windy. And when I woke up Saturday morning, the conditions were a bit better. And that's when I captured this video that explains a bit about the location. And after the landing from that tour, I knew I had more or less everything to move on with my coverage from North Iceland. So I drove back. But as for tourists, right now, they have been asked not to hike to the volcano. The terrain there is very rough. One hiker fell into a fracture recently, but got out safely. And the eruption has made this area quite dangerous. We don't always know what is under the moss. And then it's the smoke now. We have been lucky with the wind direction so far. And my feeling is that this area will be opened formally for tourists if this continues. but it will require some work on our behalf, like putting out a wildfire and make a hiking trail, like we did by the volcanoes on Mount Fagradalsfjall, or to make sure that the search and rescue teams won't get too busy. But it's too early to go into this now. The eruption might just as well be over and done with tomorrow, but I will talk more about this during my next updates, because I know there are a lot of people that want to see this. And I do have a few more videos to publish from this tour. Some fit best with music, but I also have to hit the road soon for other filming tasks, depending on the weather. And I'm not hiking or biking to the volcano with my camera gear unless I know it's trouble-free and safe. But there is no denying to it. I really want the close-up footage next. And to sum this up, we got lucky. We just won a battle, but this is not over. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.